Something pretty special. We're going to get a look at something you almost never see, the actual internal execution plan of a real enterprise AI startup. We're cutting through all the hype and going straight to the blueprint. So that really brings us to our big question for today. Forget the flashy press releases and the big funding announcements. What does the real plan, the nuts and bolts, actually look like? Well, we're about to find out by deconstructing the detailed plans of a company called Core AI. We'll see exactly how they planned to build their business right from square one. So let's start with the problem they decided to solve. First things first, every great startup story starts with solving a real, painful problem. For Core AI, it was all about spotting a very specific gap in the Ethiopian business world. Let's take a closer look at what they found. So the problem they found wasn't just one thing. It was a whole combination of things hitting Ethiopian companies all at once. You've got these old school manual ways of doing things that are slow and full of errors. Then there's a real lack of insight from their data. And on top of all that, new regulations are adding even more pressure. It's kind of the perfect storm, really, especially when most of these companies just don't have the in-house AI talent to fix it themselves. It creates this perfect opening for a company to come in with the right solution. And this chart just brilliantly shows who they were going after. It makes total sense that almost half their focus is on banks and finance. Think fraud detection, credit scoring. That's a perfect fit for AI. But what's really interesting is that huge 25% chunk for agribusiness. That's a massive part of the region's economy, and it's an area just begging for optimization. Super smart. Okay, so we've got the problem and we know who they're selling to. The next obvious question is how? How exactly did Core AI plan to solve these problems? Let's break down their solution, which really hinges on being practical and, super importantly, localized. It all kicks off with their mission statement, and I want you to really focus on two words here: responsible and localized. See, this isn't about them just parachuting in some generic, off-the-shelf global software. No, this is about building AI that gets the local context. That means it understands local languages like Amharic and gets the local rules and regulations. That right there, that's their secret sauce. And look at this, they're not a one-trick pony. Their approach covers all the bases. They offer tangible things you can see, like AI chatbots and decision-making systems, but they also provide the deep-down plumbing, the data platforms and MLOps that you need to make it all run smoothly. Then, by tacking on consulting and training, they position themselves as a long-term partner, not just a one-and-done vendor. All right, now we're getting to the real heart of this thing. We've seen the what and the why. Now it's time for the how. Let's dig into their actual playbook, a concrete 24-month plan that lays out every single step. This roadmap is just a masterclass in how to grow smartly. Just look at the progression. They start lean, right? Focus on getting the legal stuff sorted and landing those first absolutely crucial pilot projects. It's only after that, once they've proven the concept, that they start scaling up the team and going after those big enterprise contracts. And finally, way down the road, they think about expanding. It's that classic crawl, walk, run strategy in action. Of course, a plan is just a piece of paper without the right people to make it happen. So this brings us to a super critical part of the blueprint. How do you build the A-team? Let's see who Core planned to hire, and maybe even more importantly, when they plan to hire them. Just like their main roadmap, the hiring plan happens in stages. Phase 1 is the absolute skeleton crew. You need the people who can actually build the thing. That's your ML and back-end engineers, plus someone part-time to handle the money and the contracts. You see how roles like sales and marketing come way later? That's because they wait until they actually have a proven product to sell. This is how you avoid premature scaling, which is a classic startup killer. Now, this is what's so cool. They didn't just write down a job title. They built a little cheat sheet for how to hire for that role, and the red flags are so telling. They want to avoid the person who only talks about model accuracy in a vacuum or has no idea how to monitor it in the real world. It shows they're laser-focused on finding engineers who actually wrestled with messy, real-world production AI, not just the clean stuff you find in a lab. And this quote from the founder's own notes just nails it. The first few hires are everything. The wrong tech hire could build a faulty product and destroy a client's trust forever. The wrong finance hire could literally run the company out of money. Getting that initial core team right, well, it's completely non-negotiable. Okay, let's talk about the money, because you can have the best idea and the best team in the world, but if the financial plan is built on hope, you're going to fail. Let's dive into Core's financial blueprint and really pay attention to how they plan for things to go wrong. Now, this This is what a real financial plan looks like. They didn't just cook up one rosy projection where everything goes perfectly. No, they modeled out 3 different scenarios: best, base, and worst case. This gives them a clear-eyed view of the entire spectrum of what could happen. And most importantly, it tells them exactly how bad things could get. Just look at that number. That's the deepest hole they might have to dig themselves out of. That's their worst-case scenario. By putting a number on that maximum cash deficit, they know precisely how much of a capital cushion they need to survive if things go south, if projects get delayed or costs balloon. There's no guesswork. And here's the brilliant part. They have a plan for that scary number. They're not just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. They have a list of specific levers they can pull the second they see trouble. Delay hiring, shift focus to consulting to get cash in the door fast, cut costs. This is the fundamental difference between a startup that panics and one that's resilient. And to make sure that discipline sticks, they have hard and fast rules. This one right here is their survival metric. It's a non-negotiable. Every single month, the cash they have in the bank must be enough to cover at least the next 3 months of operations. If it ever drops below that line, it's an all-hands-on-deck, code red emergency. And if that first metric is about survival, this one is all about growth. It's not enough to just land a bunch of small pilot projects. They have to convert at least half of those into bigger, long-term contracts. This is what ensures the business is actually building a scalable revenue stream, not just hopping from one small gig to the next. So, after taking this entire plan apart, from the market and the solution all the way to the financials, what's the big takeaway here? What can we all learn from this incredible level of detailed planning? The key idea, really, is what we can call a resilient blueprint. It's a plan that's optimistic about the future, for sure, but it's also deeply paranoid about the present. It doesn't just hope for the best, it anticipates failure and has specific, preloaded actions ready to go for when things inevitably go sideways. It turns potential panic into a planned, calm response. And honestly, nothing captures this entire philosophy better than the #1 question on the CEO's monthly checklist. It's not, how cool is our new tech, or how fast are we growing? It's a simple, almost brutal question of survival. Can we stay alive for the next 90 days? That relentless focus is what holds this entire strategy together. And that leaves us with one final thought. This was a deep dive into AbeaCore AI's blueprint, built for their specific market with their specific challenges. But the core principles, that detailed planning, that phased growth, that obsession with building for resilience, those are universal. So it makes you think, what's on the first page of your plan?